3, 2, 1, yeah, we ready right now. Got me feeling so free, free. Got me feeling so free, free.
Welcome back to the Side Quest Hustle. This is the podcast where we dive into anime, manga, TV, video games, and more. I'm your host, Shad, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Took a little time off. It was my wife's birthday, so we took a vacation out to Hawaii. I posted some of the pictures on social media and in Discord. You could check those out, see the time we had. Hawaii is beautiful. It was my first time going. I think it's like her third time, but we had a really good time. We went to the Big Island. We got to see some volcanoes. We got to do some hiking, see some waterfalls. Got some tattoos as well. I ended up getting a one-piece Jolly Roger, the straw hat and skull, crossbones, tatted on my forearm. I think I can get it in frame. Yeah. So I ended up getting that. Wife got a tattoo as well. We had a good time. If you've never been to Waikola Village on the Big Island in Hawaii, it's definitely worth checking out. But with that, be sure to follow the show on all social medias at the Side Quest Hustle. And for those watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you like. If you have a question or you got something you want to talk about, leave a comment. It helps with the engagement. It helps get the video out there. And if you guys really want to engage, be sure to join the Discord. The link to the Discord will be down below. The fall anime season, fall 24 anime season, it's a stacked anime season, and it started at the beginning of the month, the beginning of October, and we've had a bunch of welcome back to the Side Quest Hustle. I'm your host, Shad. This is the podcast where we talk about anime lore. Season 2 of Chosen Block came back this week. I have Zero is back after Emmanuel LKD season. You can find it. I'm catching up on SUCRIBE. I'm new to that one. I think he crashed to all flight to Hawaii and the flight interviews. I'm almost done with CDO games. I'll be able to dive into season 3 here soon. I'll definitely be talking about the game I never played. But Tower of God, the second core of Tower of God is going. He's also a musician. Did 2 continuous fours, 12 episodes each, and so there was no break in welcome to the show. No pause. And
thank you.
Second core
is good to be on here. You know, I did my research.
I'll talk about.
I checked out your first episode.
Another one that I like, the Shangri-La Frontier. Season 2 Shangri-La Frontier.
The Pied Piper episode. I forgot what the name of that
from. I guess the
I checked out that review.
Anime that
yeah, man, I'm excited to be here.
Enjoyed and it left off on an epic
anime. Just talk
great.
Our journeys.
Those are some of the returning animes
what's
that I'm
going on.
definitely looking into tuning in for, but there were some premieres too. That Dandadon was probably the most highly anticipated show that premiered in the fall season. It's different. It was a dope and the show it's itself, really interesting. Get past some art production without personally, so we're pretty conscious. I talked about it with the sports bowl in the last episode, but that and with Dragon Ball Daima. But as One Piece fan shorts, he has a I'll talk about that one in a little bit as well. It's one of my favorite new animated. I don't see a lot of people talking about is Mecha-Ude and everything friends and Blue Box short as well. It is another romance anime that has hype. Also, a lot of people are enjoying it. Anime. The Gundam franchise also the conversation with anime this fall. It went straight to Netflix and it was 6 episodes that released all at once last weekend. I got a chance to check those out. Give you my thoughts on those. Before I talk about the fall 24 anime in depth, there's some news that I just wanted to cover. The One Piece anime is going on a 6-month hiatus, and they're going to be returning in April of 2025. If you're a One Piece fan, or even if you're not a One Piece fan, One Piece has been going strong for a couple of years now. They consistently released episodes this year, last year, that have ranked at the top of the episode ranking from my anime list. They've had some episodes ranked at the top of IDBM, if I'm not mistaken. There was the one episode that was the top ranked TV episode on IDBM. And One Piece has just been on a really crazy run and in mainstream media as well. They had the #1 show on Netflix, and that live action is returning for season 2. They did the live action very good and very successfully. The anime, like I said, this year alone, the One Piece anime, for me at least, probably has maybe 4 or 5 of my top 10 anime moments of this year, and some of my favorite anime moments of all time. But yeah, they're going on a 6-month hiatus just to be able to take a break and be able to ensure that their studio can deliver some of that top tier animation that they've been giving us this year. The One Piece manga is also going on a 2-week break so that the mangaka can work on the live action. Oda's taking some time off. He's going to be working on the live action, and so the manga will return on November the 11th. They haven't left us without content for anime. This past week, the One Piece fan letter episode dropped, and it was beautiful. It was definitely a letter to the fans. It took an approach of people in the One Piece world during these different events, whether it be Marineford, Dressrosa, different events that took place. And these were fans of the Straw Hats and different aspects. There was the little girl who wanted to get the letter to Nami and in a way help the Straw Hats escape. Had the guy who was obsessed with Chopper, this big Marine guy who was obsessed with Chopper. You have the brothers, which is probably the most touching, the Marineford piece, because watching Marineford, you saw a lot of people die, both Marines and pirates. And there's this Marine whose brother is a pirate, and Luffy saving Ace kind of connected with him personally because his brother was a pirate. I mean, today's episode is going to have some spoilers, but I don't want to spoil that one too much. That one was really special, and it had a really high ranking as well. I think it was the highest rated anime episode from this past week. So be sure to check it out. It's definitely one for One Piece fans. If you're not a One Piece fan and you haven't really watched it or caught up, you may think it's just okay, but if you are caught up, if you've been invested in One Piece, it's definitely one to check out, and it's definitely one that kind of pulls at the heartstrings a little bit. It's great. The Gundam franchise announced that they plan on having yearly releases through 2029, and that started this year with Gundam Requiem Vengeance. I'll talk about that one a little bit later, and my thoughts on that it was a fall anime, premiered last week, dropped all 6 episodes. But I'm a big Gundam fan, so I'm excited to get Gundam content, and I'm hoping that it's some quality content and not just some things thrown together. Kagurabachi has been one of the hottest anime since it was released, I believe, last year. It's been one of the top 10 selling anime consistently week over week, and an anime adaptation was announced, and studios have been in a bidding war over the rights to adapt Kagurabachi into an anime. Major anime studios responsible for some of the biggest anime are all bidding for the rights, including MAPPA. They made Jujutsu Kaisen, Toei, who's responsible for Dragon Ball and One Piece, Pierrot Studios, they do Bleach, Cloverwork has Spy Family, among other things, and they're all competing for the rights to adapt Kagurabachi. And so there's been no official confirmations yet, but it's an intense bidding war. Kagurabachi, it's a new one. They're saying that it could be like the next Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm excited for that one. A little bit about the story. Kagurabachi made its debut in 2023, so last year. It's fairly new, and it revolves around Chihiro Rakuhira. I may be butchering that, but he's a young man on a mission to recover enchanted swords that were stolen from his late father. I'll be excited to see which studio gets that and what art style they take, and with the direction that things have been going, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be epic. The fall 2024 anime season started on October 3rd, and it started with heavy hitters like Bleach and some highly anticipated returns like Blue Lock, all premiering their episodes on October 3rd, but there's some lesser known animes that I feel like are gonna make some waves. They may be being overshadowed by the likes of Bleach and Dragon Ball Daima and some others. One of those anime is Mecha-Ude, Mechanical Arms. It also premiered on October 3rd, and a little premise about it. It's one day in Kitakagami City, a junior high school, Hikaru Amatsuga, I may be mispronouncing that, but he meets a mysterious Ude, or arm-shaped machine life form called a Mecha-Ude named Alma. In order to obtain energy, Alma tried to combine with Hikaru himself, but somehow he ended up combining with his hoodie. Meanwhile, there are large corporations out to forcibly turn Mecha-Ude into weapons against their will, called the Kagami Group. They're on the hunt for Alma specifically, aiming to liberate themselves from the Kagami Group. A group of Mecha-Ude users known as ARMS, is also searching for Alma. And in the midst of everything, Hakura can't bring himself to abandon Alma, who can't remember anything, and decides to put the hoodie Alma is combined with that will embroil him in an epic clash with the Mecha-Ude users that unfold. When I decided to talk about Fall 24 anime, this was already on my list to talk about, but then in doing some research and some digging into this anime specifically, the story around it captured me. It started as a Kickstarter project by Sei Akamoto in 2016, and they were able to raise $67,000 to produce a 25-minute pilot, which they released on YouTube back in 2019. And so I checked out the pilot. The pilot is pretty much the first episode or so of what we get of the anime. And based on that pilot, they were able to secure a studio deal to produce the full season of the anime that premiered this year on October 3rd. It also has a manga. The manga has 3 volumes that have been released, all by Sei Akamoto, following the story of Hikaru and Alma. And so checking out the first 3 episodes, like I said, it's one that doesn't have a lot of hype. It's one that not a lot of people are following. And I feel like it'll go along the way of some of those that people may end up picking later on in the season as clips of some of the action and some of the fights start going around. It may be one like a Windbreaker or a story of Wand and Swords, where it's later in the season that people pick it up. The animation looks clean, the action is clean. It's a very unique take on sort of a mech type anime. It almost reminds me a little bit of Parasite, but it's Parasite combined with like Transformers. Each Mecha-Ude has their own unique abilities. A little bit of like spoiler on characters. We get to see some of the Mecha-Ude who are able to control sound. They're different shapes. They're not all the same size. We see some that can transform into swords. We see some that can transform into motorcycles. They are all very useful, but these Mecha-Ude can't survive without a host, which kind of make Alma special because Alma doesn't combine with a human. Alma ends up combining with a hoodie. With that, he's not drawing his life or his power of his source of energy from a human. Him and Hikaru develop a friendship, and they are able to fight effectively, even though they haven't, I believe they called it de-rised maybe. The action in it is like I said, it's pretty clean. I'm excited for it. I've watched all 3 episodes, and it's been a solid start to the anime, and I'll definitely plan on tuning in with this one weekly. Another new anime that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, but I feel like it has an interesting premise. It premiered in week 2 of the Fall 24 season, was Demon Lord 2099. And so in a magical fantasy world of Alneath, the villainous Demon Lord Velto Velvet Velsvat was slain in battle by the hero Graham. 500 years later, his subordinate Mechana Solage uses magic to revive Velto. And during his time away, however, Alneath underwent a catastrophe known as the Fantasian when it merged with the industrial world of Earth in 2023. This resulted in prejudice between the races, the collapse of national boundaries, and wars between newly established city-states. After the wars, relative peace broke out, and Alneath's magic was combined with Earth's industry to create magical engineering known as Magineering. Veltov is revived in the year 2099 in the city known as Shinjaku, formerly Tokyo, and together with Makina and her hacker friend Takahashi, he attempts to regain his power and once again attempt the world domination. This anime is based on 4 light novels that have been released since January 2021, with the most recent light novel being released this month in October of 24. They're written by Dago Murasaki and illustrated by Kureta. There was a manga. There have been 2 manga adaptations, one by Kiro Akashiro, which was shown in Ace Plus from November of 21 to June of 22, and a second manga adaptation by Yutaka Sakurai, beginning serialization on the same website in March of 2023. The studio that's making the anime is JC Staff. It's a very different type of isekai. Veltol is not transported to a different world. It's almost the reverse, where instead of being sent to another world and him gaining some really cool or some really overpowered magic, he went from being very overpowered in 1599 to being very underpowered in 2099. He was the demon lord, he was defeated, but during that time, with the Imagineering or the magical engineering that has become commonplace, and his power being drawn from people having faith in him or being scared of him, but in this time nobody knows him, so his magic isn't powerful at all. But something that is shown over the first 2 episodes, where in the very first episode, very first scene, he tries to shoot magic to clear up the sky, and he's able to make a little dent, and he's like, well, my full power hasn't returned. Normally I would have been able to clear the skies with that magical shot, and nobody knows who he is. There's been sort of a purging of immortals, or the people who worshiped him. He has to try to find a way to regain his former glory. It's a different type of isekai from what most people may be used to, but it's very interesting because it takes place in a cyberpunk 2099 Tokyo, and there's magic, there is technology. One of the scenes in the first episode, when we meet Takahashi, who's a hacker who uses magic to hack machines, she hacks the broadcasts that are on the streets in Tokyo and uploads porn, and she's the typical cyberpunk against the man, against the machine sort of anarchist. This is another one that seems like it could be very interesting, very different, that not a lot of people are talking about, that I plan on watching and tuning into. So those are 2 picks that I'm definitely going to be following week to week. Their first quarter caught my attention, with anime seasons basically being 12 episodes, 3 episodes are a quarter, and so I've given quite a few anime that sort of quarter look. I won't go through them all here, but I'll definitely go through the ones that I plan on watching weekly, and maybe some of the ones that I plan on binging. Gundam Requiem for Vengeance was definitely one that I binge watched. When it was announced back this summer, I was excited. I'm a big Gundam fan, and so a new Gundam franchise coming out, and they released all episodes. I was kind of surprised on that. I thought it'd be a week by week release. This Gundam series takes a different look. We are getting this story from the eyes of Zionists. And so 11 months into the 1-year war, and you see 0079, a top Zuku pilot, Captain Solari, faces Earth Federation new lethal weapon, the Mobile Suit Gundam. This really plays like a slasher horror movie in which the Gundam is the monster. The Gundam is the slasher, the horror, and most of the attacks take place at night. Most of them, they're shadows. It's a very interesting take because, like I said, the Gundam is a horror character, and we are looking at it from the eyes of the Gundam isn't the hero. The Gundam isn't the one freeing people. The Gundam isn't the one fighting for a right cause. The Gundam is terrorizing them. They don't know what to do. This is their first time seeing this machine, and it shows sort of a dark side of war, the side of war where there is no right. We always see on Gundam, the Zionist forces are sort of the bad guys. They're the evil people. There's usually a Gundam pilot, or the Earth Federation forces are fighting back against the Zionists and against the Zaku. But in this one, it's very different. The Zakus are looked at as the ultimate war weapon for the Zionists, and now that there's this new weapon that can easily take out Zaku, we see that in the very first episode. They're shocked, and they are taken aback. I mean, half of Captain Solari's forces are taken out in the first attack, and half her team is gone. They're supposed to be this the Red Wolves, this advanced elite unit of Zaku who can hold up to anything, but against the Gundam, they're shred to pieces. And like I said, we really get to dive into the human side of the Zionists, that not all of them some evil, maniacal, plotting, whatever you want to call it, people. They're people too, and they're part of this war, and they're losing people. Captain Solari has lost her husband, and different people has lost different people. We get to meet certain characters who their whole goal is to protect the people under their care until they can get evacuated. In this series, the Gundam is technically the bad guy. The Gundam, like I said, is the slasher, and they do it very well. The Gundam fights are some of the best animated Gundam fights that I've seen. It uses the Unreal 3D engine. This is the first show that I've seen animated with Unreal Engine and animated in this style and format. The Gundam fights look very good and are very crisp and clean, and the Gundam and Zaku themselves look very good. Some of the other animation leaves a little bit to be desired, but overall, it was a decent series. It's definitely worth checking out if you're a Gundam fan. Even if you're not a Gundam fan, it's definitely one that's worth checking out, that gives a good story to follow. Tower of God returned for the fall 24 season with its Core 2. I know Core 1 left a lot to be desired by a lot of people. Tower of God has a really big fan base, and there were a lot of people upset with the animation. In talking with other people, Emmanuel, Sons of Tokyo, I made the statement that Tower of God was really one of those manhwa that came out when stories really built up to an action sequence, and it built up to a big payoff. And so if you look at the tuning exams, if you look at Marineford, if you look at different events in a lot of those bigger anime that were coming out around 2010 or so, and you look at Tower of God, that's really how Tower of God was built up. For those that don't know, Tower of God was a manhwa that started releasing in 2010. Tower of God Core 2 is the first big culminating event that could be related to those other anime big events that really captured a lot of people's attention, like the tuning exams, like Enies Lobby or Marineford, the Rukia retrieval arc, the Soul Society arc in Bleach, and the workshop battle, which Core 2 of Tower of God covers. I feel like they're off to a very good start, and I made the statement that they blew their budget on the second half. They needed to get through the first half. That part of the story needed to be told. There were some good highlights in the first core of season 2 of Tower of God, but I felt like they were saving everything for the second core, and through the first 3 episodes, I'm right. The first 3 episodes have been straight gas. They have been top notch. They have not missed a beat in any of the episodes. It's been the action that people like to see from start to finish, with the character development and the build that's gonna lead up to some really good payoff. We get reintroduced to Bomb's friends from season 1. Kun is back. Rock is back. We get introduced to some new characters in Reflejo and Ran, and we meet the Traveler, and we see that he's on a mission, and sort of we find out a little bit about the workshop battle and what they're all going for. We see Bomb and Kun's old team, and they are gunning for Juvio Grace. They don't know that Juvio Grace is the 25th Bomb. They think Juvio Grace killed Kun, and so they sliding for Kun. They don't care. They are coming for Juvio Grace, and they plan on taking him out because they believe that he killed Kun. They don't know that Kun is alive. We do, because we saw Kun all through the first core of season 1, but for them, all they know is he died. Bug and Juvio Grace were there, so they're coming for him. And so it has some very interesting aspects, and the story has definitely picked up. I know a lot of people who said that they were dropping it, they weren't going to watch it, but one of the things with my last guest, Emmanuel, He watched Core 1 straight through, and he had much more enjoyable time watching it straight through than watching it episodically week by week. And I'm not saying to go back and watch Core 1 straight through like he did, but it would make sense. You can pick up Core 2, and Core 2 is almost night and day from Core 1. And so for those who dropped it, I would definitely say pick it back up, give it a try, and you'll enjoy it. It is definitely picked up, and it'll only keep going up from here. Blue Lock is another anime that has a lot of hype around it. I was hooked on Blue Lock from start to finish. The story that was told with Isagi wanting to become the greatest soccer player in Japan and developing their egos, developing their skills. Season 1 was peak storytelling, and for manga, the manga has been one of the top selling mangas in Japan over the past year or two. And so season 2 coming back picks up exactly where season 1 left off of. They just finished this. They find out that they have to play U20 for the survival of the Blue Lock program, and they're going to kick it into gear with this tournament to find out the team that is going to play against Japan's U20 team. And if they win, the Blue Lock program is going to become Japan's U20 under 20 team, basically. With that, this part of the season has been built. It has been built up, set up. There's been a little bit of action here, but I have faith that they're going to turn it around. I know it's been getting a lot of hate for its animation and for the pacing of the story so far, but with what we got in season 1 and with how popular the manga has been, and they know how popular it was. They released a movie that was very successful earlier this year. I don't believe that this is the route that they'll take as far as with the animation and the storytelling. It'll pick up. I know people are being dramatic. People are panicking. People are hopping on the trending thing of saying that it fell off, that it's trash, that this is a fall off to be studied. It'll pick back up. Like the whole people wanting, and I mean, I understand it's part of the times and it's just kind of how things are. People want things to be peak action animation, everything from the start, every single episode, every frame. And when they don't get that, they're upset. And it may just be because of where Blue Lock left off. Blue Lock left off at some really hype moments. It left you on a high of, if you never watched a sports anime like it, and it almost really kind of takes the approach of being sort of a power-based anime that they just so happen to be playing soccer. And so I have faith that it'll pick up. I'm going to keep watching it. Like I said, I don't feel like they'll let us down like that. Blue Box was another premiere from the fall 2024 anime that I've been watching. It's a romance anime, and I don't usually watch romance anime. I've taken it on at the recommendation of some other people who I've grown to trust their opinion, and it basically follows two athletes, a badminton player and a basketball player, and the badminton player is madly in love with the basketball player, and he's doing what he can to get her attention. He's coming into the gym early, he's practicing, he's got to meet her, and they've exchanged this story. I've only been able to watch the first episode of this one, and so I'm probably going to end up binging it at some point, but it seems like a really wholesome love story with a sports aspect that I really like. So yeah, that is one that I plan on binge watching. Earlier this year, March of 2024, we lost the legend Akira Toriyama. He's responsible for the Dragon Ball franchise, the Dr. Slump franchise. These were, you ask any anime fan, they know what Dragon Ball is. They know what Dragon Ball Z is. And for a lot of people, it was their gateway into Dragon Ball. At his passing, the last project that he worked on was Dragon Ball Daima. It was a passion project for him. He had direct input on its creation, and the anime was released as part of the fall 24 season. It is very nostalgic. It doesn't take place where Dragon Ball Super left off or where any of the movies have left off. It kind of takes us back a little bit, does a little bit of retconning, just a little bit, but it takes us back to right after the Buu saga ends, but before Dragon Ball Super starts. And so we're going back in time just a little bit, and it's telling a story that took place in between that time. Dragon Ball Daima takes the Z Warriors to the Demon Realm. Dabura, he was Babadi's minion, the pink guy who Gohan ended up fighting during, he was one of Gohan's first fights during the Buu saga. He was the king of the Demon Realm, and so with him dying, the throne for the Demon Realm is vacant. The Majins also come from the Demon Realm apparently, and there are other Majin according to this story. And so it follows our heroes into the Demon Realm. Everybody has been turned into kids. We find out that there are other Namekians in the Demon Realm as well, and that the Namekians originated in the Demon Realm, escaped the Demon Realm, and populated Universe 7 as well as potentially other universes. And so that was pretty cool. We got some lore around the Namekian race and where they come from, and that they are not native to Universe 7. They've been here for thousands of years though. It was one of the questions that I kind of had around that, because if you watch Dragon Ball, you know that Piccolo's first form was Demon King Piccolo. And so just me thinking, putting two and two together, I had that question of if Demon King Piccolo was king of the Demon Realm before Dabura, and somebody answered that question for me that, no, it wasn't. It was kind of all on Japanese wording, depending on how you got it translated. It could be Demon Lord Piccolo, but it was just because he was a demon and he was considered a king, and so Demon King Piccolo. I'm excited for this one. It's definitely one that me and I know just about everyone else is tuning into, and everyone else has covered. They're probably everybody else who makes reaction videos and covers anime is talking about Dragon Ball Daima, and everyone's excited, and rightfully so. Regardless of when you started watching anime in the past 25, 30 years, Dragon Ball has been part of your journey. And this series is fun. This series kind of takes me back to the original Dragon Ball and that feel of the original Dragon. And it may be because Goku is a kid, along with Vegeta and Piccolo, Bulma, all of the others. But I'm excited for this one. I'm definitely going to support it, as well as I'm pretty sure everyone else out there is. With Akira Toriyama being directly involved, I'm pretty sure that this series is going to meet and exceed everyone's expectations. And so that just brings us to Dandadon. Dandadon was probably the most highly anticipated premiere of the fall 24 season, and I know I talked about the first episode and the last episode with Emmanuel LKD. Be sure to check that one out. I can link that video, probably put a card up here, link it down below. We covered the first episode and sort of the premise of the show. It dives into the paranormal of ghosts and aliens. You have Momo, who is the granddaughter of a medium, and she believes in ghosts, and Akira, who is sort of an occultist who believes in aliens. And it's really a teenage love story with some paranormal action in it. The first 3 episodes have been pretty good. I know episode 1 had some cringe moments that people really didn't like, but that is the only time that really anything like that kind of shows up. And so from there, the story has dove more into Momo's background. You get to meet her grandmother, who is the medium, who she talks about in the first episode, and we get to see her grandma in action. Her grandma takes on Turbo Granny and really puts Turbo Granny in her place, and it started to prep Momo and Akira to take on Turbo Granny to hopefully get Akira's weenie back. And so that's where that last episode left off with us. It's been really good action, a really good comedy. The comedy really hits even in the English dub. I haven't watched all of the episodes in sub, but from what I've been told, the English dub does a really good job portraying the comedy and making sure that the jokes hit properly and exactly where they're supposed to hit. and the action. They fought the alien Buddha, who they kind of figure out that the aliens and the ghost maybe have some relationship, because there was a sigil that stopped Okarun from entering into the shrine. And so when it was taken down, the alien was able to enter the shrine and ring the doorbell that only Ghost would be able to ring. Putting two to two together, I feel like the relationship between the ghost and the aliens will probably get expounded upon as we go through the series, and we'll find out that they have more in common than what we think. But she ends up being able to place the sigil back, and it destroys the alien, and so there's just another tie there. I'm really enjoying Dandadon so far. The series has, so far as a premiere, lived up to the hype. They've done a good job animating it and animating the action scene. Okarun's transformation looks extremely dope. Ayase can take a hit, man. I gotta say, she can take a hit, and I imagine she's gonna learn to give hits as well. I like it. I'm gonna continue to watch it, and there's a few others on my list. I know this was just a handful. I can't go into everything. There's still a couple of more shows that I want to check out, and a couple like ReZero that I need to catch up on and then watch this season. Blue Box that I'm going to continue to watch. There's a couple of other anime on the list out there as I'm searching. There was a lot of premieres, and so hadn't been able to catch them all, especially with traveling and doing different things. But I'll definitely keep you guys updated and dive into some of the bigger ones like Bleach. Core 3 of Bleach 1000-Year Blood War arc has been peaked, just like Core 2 and Core 1 have been. I've really enjoyed the content that they've added in to complete the series how Kubo intended for the series to be completed. All of the content that has been added has done nothing but add to the show and add to the hypeness of it and the peakness of it. This next episode, I think episode 4 of Core 2, they said there's going to be 12 minutes of original content, and I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it, and I feel like we are definitely eating with this core, with the 1000-Year Blood War arc in general. We have really gotten a treat, and I feel like every anime studio should strive to put out quality content like that, and every mangaka should try to make quality content and maybe take note of putting out what you want and not the pressures of a studio. I know Hunter x Hunter's manga recently returned. Togashi has taken time off for his health. With it returning, we are getting the story he wants to tell, and I believe he is planning on releasing 20 or 30 chapters at least that have been completed from what reports say. And so with anybody creating content or creating art, they're telling your stories, whether it's in comic or manga, webtoon form, however you tell it, tell your story the way you want to tell it. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Don't let anybody rush your content or your creative process at all. The guys over at Blurred Mind Productions, they recently posted their process for making their chapters, and for them it takes 2 months, and Steve and AI, they go into their project with love, and I feel like that's the proper way to do it. Everybody should do it. They should go into it with their own process, with their own way of doing things, and release what you want to release. And so I'm glad that Kubo is getting to come back and properly tell his story and properly finish out his story, and we all get to enjoy it and benefit from it. And so I'm definitely excited for that. Also, like I mentioned, Hunter x Hunter is back. Hunter x Hunter is my number 2 anime, probably number 2 or 3, probably number 3 manga, number 2 anime for sure. Bleach is pushing though. 1000-Year Blood War arc is peak, so it may overtake it. With Hunter x Hunter mangas returning and that story being told, I'm definitely hoping that it gets finished, and I'm hoping that an anime adaptation gets picked up and created so that we can visually finish that story that I know a lot of people say that it would probably be their top 1 or 2 if it continued. Cool. So I think that's all I got for this week. Just a couple of anime that I'm watching from the fall 24 season. These are shows that I'd recommend other people watch as well. And so hopefully you tune in. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are watching this season. If there's something that maybe you guys recommend that I check out, or if there's some that you maybe tried and didn't like and maybe I should stay away from, or if you guys decide to check out like a Mecha-Ude or Gundam Requiem for Vengeance, tell me your thoughts on it. But be sure to follow the show on all social medias at the Side Quest Hustle, all streaming platforms at the Side Quest Hustle. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, like, leave a comment, get the engagement up. Join our Discord server as well. I'd love to have you. I'd love to learn more about you and be able to engage with you. I'm probably the most active on YouTube and Instagram. If you want to reach me, shoot me a DM, comment on a post. I'll respond. I try to respond to everybody who leaves a comment and everybody who engages in Discord. So definitely those links will be down below. And so I hope to see you, hope to hear from you soon. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. If you made it to this point of the show, I really appreciate it. I will catch you guys next week. Thank y'all, man. Peace.